Diego, October 19th. But we'll be back here in Florida Friday, November 15th for one last bout of the year here at Largo Event Center. And to finish it all out for the year, the Sunshine Slaydown will be December 7th, 2024. That is a SCRD versus the world style bout. We'll have skaters from all over Florida. Come and check it out. It'll be fun to see a nice mix-up and mash-up of different skill sets in different leagues. That will be up at the Sunderman Complex. Sunderman, if you want to look that up. And if you want to join Roller Derby, Monday, September 9th is our next recruitment night. September may sound far away, but I promise you it is not. September 9th is our next recruitment. Come check us out. We're happy to teach people to skate from scratch. You can have never worn skates before in your life. We'll teach you from the very beginning. And even if you just want to join this amazing community, which I promise you is amazing, we can just teach you to skate. You don't have to learn to hit or play roller derby. You can just skate with us at the pier and other fun events. We skate pride, all kinds of cool stuff. All right, we'll check on that food truck. All right, that is it for the 90s Teal Team for their dedicated track time. It is now the 80s in orange and their amazing aerobics gear. It is time for their dedicated track time, 10 minutes of dedicated track time. Once they're done warming up, there is not much left before that first whistle. So if you're going to grab some food, grab a beer, grab some merch, now is the time to do it. There is not much time before we kick things off with Sunshine City Roller Derby. If you're wondering what is that sound, that is the sound of urethane roller derby wheels scraping on a floor during what is called a T-stop. You take your foot, you put it back in a 90-degree position, gently apply the wheels, gently being important so you don't suddenly screech to a stop, and it's a great way to stop in a very small formation. All right, that is it for the dedicated track time for both teams. Obviously, they're taking their last little bit of time to warm up here, but we are going to get started shortly. Unfortunately, it looks like our food truck did not make it today, so we were without food truck. I apologize for that. But we do, again, have baked goods available for sale over there on the merch table, and beer and soda available over at the bar if you'd like to pick anything up there. And I guess if anyone has a food truck that can get here in the next 2 hours and they want to come over and tell me, or just call them, they are welcome to park in our lot and serve food, given the other food truck had to bail. All right, so these skaters are getting warmed up. While they get set up, I want to introduce you to the amazing people that keep us safe here at Sunshine City Roller Derby. Roller Derby is a all-volunteer sport. No one is paid. In fact, people pay for a membership just to be here. The sport is that awesome, that fun. Standing there in yellow is Lucas. Oh, he just sat down. He doesn't want the attention. Lucas, our medic, keeping us safe over there. We really appreciate you. And our refs in the middle. Let me grab my little ref sheet here. Head ref is Marcia there in the black and the amazing roller rink pants. Game executioner is Rinkenclaw. Front pack ref, Candy. Rear pack ref, TBD. Our jam refs, those keep the score, are Mike Check and Kylo Ken. Our scoreboard operator is Poison Iris over there underneath that giant scoreboard. Eyes in the sky are Mama Flinger and Chase and Chaos. Running the whiteboard is Misty Meaner. Thank you so much, refs, for keeping us safe. That is our safety team. I'm going to give them a moment to do a little safety check on the skaters. Typically, they check and make sure no one forgot any pads. Believe it or not, people will forget a whole set of pads sometimes. Or make sure that there's no metal sticking out anywhere. The toe stops have a metal rod that goes down through a rubber pad, and after that rubber pad wears down a while, it becomes a weapon. So we make sure there's nothing going on there. Once we're done with that safety check, that's it. We are going to get started with the first whistle of this bout. If you don't know what roller derby is, don't worry about it. I will explain it as we go. One of the funny things that skaters forget a lot is a mouth guard. And at least when you forget something else like an elbow pad, you can just borrow someone else's mouth guard. That's a bad day if you're going to borrow somebody else's mouth guard. All right, it looks like that safety check is complete, but I see that, yeah, all right, we caught someone with the safety check. We're just giving them a moment to get that skate resolved. That's why we do that safety check, guys. Not something you want to discover during a hit. Are the skaters ready? All right. Welcome to Sunshine City Roller Derby. Thank you so much for showing up to our very special Saturday bout, 80s versus 90s. Let's meet the team in orange, the 80s team first here. Number 130, it's an excellent temperature for grilling steak, Carnage Asada. Number 404, Shameless. Number 87, Dolly Death Star. Number 369, Frankenfine. Number 831, Smack and Decker. Number 111, Punisher. In her first bout with us ever, number 614, Goldie Got Her. Number 202, T-Rex. Number 29, Big Ash. Number 113, Voodoo Brawl. Number 514, Chewbacca. And their bench coach, number 42, Anastasia. All right, that is your 80s team in orange. Let's meet your 90s team in teal. Number 321, Ginger Snaps. Number F15H, Godzilla. Number 18, Jerry Noble. Number 10, Sweating Bullets. Number 90, Circuit Breaker. Number 121, Risky Business. Number 12, Han Solo. Number 1942, Bambi's Revenge. Number 333, Violet Venom. Number 407, Hurricane Twyla. Number 313, Liquor Posse. And their captain, number 1138, Barbie Fett. All right, those are your teams, 80s versus 90s, Battle of the Decades. We're going to let the refs take a last moment to set up here, and then we're going to start with the first whistle. We're going straight into the first jam. While they get set up, let me explain the basics of roller derby. I introduced you earlier. Oh, mic check? I'm Miss Flinger. Who did I miss? We missed Highland Flinger there on the 90s team in teal. She's taking 2 laps. I love that. Sorry about that. I guess the refs missed when I announced them earlier, but I see Kylo Ken and Mike Checker sitting there waiting for me to announce them. They will be our jam refs. They have their very exciting headbands on. I'll announce them again. Let's do the refs again. Head ref is Marcia. Game executioner is Rinkenclaw. Front pack ref is Candy Corn. Rear pack ref is TBD. And Mama Flinger and Chasing Chaos are Eyes in the Sky somewhere. Scoreboard operator is Poison Iris. And whiteboard is Misty Meaner. We got our gem refs earlier there. All right, thank you so much, guys. We are going to get set up and get started here. So here are the basics of roller derby. The basics are there's going to be 2 skaters with a star on their helmet, one from each team. They're the jammer or the point scorer, if you like to think about it that way. Their goal is to pass members of the other team. They're going to get a point for each member of the other team they pass. However, that other team is welcome to knock them clear off their skates, and so the action of roller derby ensues. Obviously, there are more rules than that, but I will explain it to you as we go, but that is the bare bones basics of roller derby. You can already see back there, you've got a skater with a star on their helmet in the back there, lining up, one for each team. Jerry Noble lining up to jam in teal, and Voodoo Brawl lining up to jam in orange. Their goal is to get past members of the other team. Members of the other team's goal is to not let them do that under any circumstances. Here we go. Voodoo Brawl takes lead jammer. Voodoo Brawl once again is in orange with that star on her helmet. That makes her the point scorer. Every member of the teal team that she passes, she will get 1 point. A great hit by Violet Venom almost clears Voodoo Brawl to the floor. Voodoo Brawl just barely able to keep her skates underneath her. That is one of the harder things about roller derby. You got to continue moving at speed and manage to get through people hitting you full speed. Both the jammers trying to fight their way through the pack here. Amazing amount of glitter on that helmet, almost blinding. All right, so Voodoo Brawl skated off the track and back on. The reason she did that, you can make little mistakes and skate off the track for just a moment, but not while you're passing members of the other team. It would make it way too easy to just be like, you look dangerous, I don't really feel like dealing with that, and just skate around them. And of course, that is not the point of roller derby. We want to see that action. So whenever you're passing members of the other team, it must be done fully on the track, not a little bit of a wheel out, not a little bit of no, it's got to be fully in the track. What Voodoo did to fix her mistake was she skated fully out of the track, came back behind everyone on the other team that she was behind at the time, reset, and put herself back in position. Scoring 7 points in that previous jam, 90's take the lead by 4 points, 7-3. Oh, we're fixing that score. Let me give the scoreboard a moment to fix that. T-Rex jamming in orange takes a lead jammer. Circuit Breaker chasing her down. All right, it looks like the points went the wrong way at first, and they fixed that, so it is actually 7-3. 80's. 80's have the lead. T-Rex calls it off and ends that jam early. All right, so just to explain what happened there, you saw T-Rex lower arms to her hips and up to her helmet. That's that skater that had the star on her helmet in orange, T-Rex. She was lowering her hands to her hips, bringing them up to her helmet. The reason she did that is because when you establish lead jammer, which means you're the first one that gets through that pack of skaters, you get out as that jammer, you get a superpower, which is the ability to control the jam clock. Why would you want to control that? Well, if I'm just barely ahead of you and I've scored my 4 points by passing 4 members of the other team, and you're about to do the same thing, what's the point? Well, I can call it off the moment I score those points, cut off your ability to score, and that's what T-Rex did there. It's a really great way to score 4 points each jam, hold the other team to none. Bread and butter play roller derby right there. Shameless jamming in orange for the 80's team. Teal team in 90's. 80's team in orange currently up 11-3. No skaters in the penalty box. What a nice clean jam so far. Teal team takes the lead. Lead jammer for the 90's team is Liquor Posse. If you're ever wondering who is that lead jammer and I haven't announced it yet, look for someone pointing in the sky and pointing at a skater. You can see Kylo Ken there pointing at Liquor Posse. That's how you know that's lead jammer. If you're curious, yes, lead jammer can be stolen. Just because you got out first doesn't mean you hold that crown forever. So sometimes you'll see a jammer race where someone's trying to just steal it and call it off just to end the jam early. Looks like that line of jammers from the first jam is back out there. Jerry Noble versus Voodoo Brawl. No points scored in that previous jam, it looks like. Oh, no. It is now 6 points for the 90's team, 11-6. So 90's team pulling ahead just a little bit, but that 80's team still holding on to the lead and has lead jammer Voodoo Brawl. Voodoo Brawl fighting some excellent defense, truck and trailer style defense here from Violet Venom and Bambi's Revenge. All right, a couple interesting things happened there. One is you saw Cherry take that star on her helmet off and then put it back on. That is a faked pass. So in roller derby, there's a skater with a stripe on their helmet. You can see there's one for each team out there right now. That is Ginger Snaps and Punisher. That is kind of like the designated receiver in roller derby. One of the more strategic moves in roller derby is that pass. In the simplest case, the jammer just takes the star off. They hand it to the pivot. That's the person with the stripe on their helmet. The pivot puts it on. They skate away. Now they're the jammer. Simple enough. However, there's a bunch of rules there that can make it pretty complicated. Once that pass happens, no one else can take a pass. So you only get the one. So it's more strategic to fake the pass. You reach like you desperately need that pivot to take it. You're exhausted, you can't do it, and then suddenly, oh, just kidding. As soon as people turn their attention to that pivot, you're gone. You stay the jammer, and you keep that ability to take it off again later. Fake that pass one more time. It's a gift that keeps on giving, and that's what Cherry did there. Very smart way to use the ability to pass. You'll probably see some more fake passes here later on in this game. Looks like we're sorting a rule situation out here. Just a moment. While they do that, let me explain it in a little more detail how it is they score. So you've got those two skaters that start off in the back there with that star on their helmets. Again, those are called the jammers. They are the point scorers. Their initial job is to just fight their way through that pack of skaters. After they get through, they're only fighting for lead jammer. They don't get any points on that first pass. It's not called a scoring pass, it's just the initial pass. So as they work their way through, it's a really fun fight to watch, but so far they haven't scored any points. Once they get out of the pack and start making that first lap, that's when they've opened up the opportunity to score. And each member of the other team that they pass, they get 1 point. There are 4 blockers on the track, so typically, if you see a full lap, they've scored 4 points. Simple math. There's a few exceptions that can make that a little more complicated. If they manage to pass the other jammer, get all the way around and lap them, which can happen if that defense is holding them well, they get a 5th bonus point called a grand slam. And if the other team has committed a penalty and they come around and pass, let's say, the 3 skaters that are left on the track, the first skater that they pass, they get a free bonus point because of that penalty. You don't miss out on points just because the other team did something wrong. So you actually get 2 points for that first person you pass because of that poor skater sitting in the box. We've been pretty light on penalties so far, which is very impressive. So we haven't had to really cover penalties yet, but way to skate clean, guys. I'll explain penalties if we ever have one. 15 points for the 80's team, 6 points for the 90's team. Here we go, Shameless versus Circuit Breaker. Circuit Breaker going one-on-one against Punisher. Punisher managed to turn around on her and lock her up long enough to force a recycle. All of that chaos gives Shameless enough time to take a lead jammer. Really looked like Circuit was going to take it for that 80's team, but Shameless has taken it for the 90's team. Remember, Shameless, by having lead jammer, has opened up the opportunity to score, so every member of the other team that she passes, she's going to score 1 point, but she's also, there it is, opened up the opportunity to control the play clock. So she takes her hands, brings them down to her hips, up to her helmet over and over again. That is calling off the jam. And again, why would you do that? Because you want to deny the other skater the opportunity to score. You both get out. Interesting race, fun to watch, blah, blah, blah. Well, this allows you to end the jam early, keep your points, and prevent that other team from scoring. Liquor Bossy versus Chublaka. Chublaka in orange for the 80s team and teal 90s team out there. Liquor Bossy takes off. Lead jammer right away. Major opportunity right now for that 90s team to make up some of those points on the board. It is currently 20-6, real tight game, but the 90s team have been down for much of this game, and Liquor has a chance to change that right now. Boy, those jammers are working it out there. I saw a whole bunch of skaters go down hard, right back up like it never happened. These ladies are tough, let me tell you. And by the way, if you want to be tough like these skaters, you can come and learn with us. We are happy to teach you from scratch. I also want to mention we do have one skater in the box out there. We have one skater in the box out there for the 80s team in orange, and so that did hold the orange team back a little bit potentially, maybe gave that 90s team a little bit of an edge. They certainly made the most of it, putting some points on the board there. I got too many refs in the way to see, but it was 20-6 before. There we go. Score is good now, 20-10. We've got a timeout for the 90s team in teal. Probably going to take a moment to strategize here, get sorted what they want to do here. Oh, I see that captain's skating into the middle. We've got a challenge. So typically a challenge will be against a penalty. All right, the teal team, that 90s team, I believe they feel as though they earned more points than you see up there on the board. Kind of a smart challenge right now. I mean, they've got 20-10. It's a pretty tight game still. Even a couple points can make a big difference here. I see they've already delivered their challenge to the refs. The refs have skittered off to go discuss this separately. Meanwhile, the captains are debating it amongst themselves. Dolly Death Star, captain of the orange team, the 80s team, and Barbie Fett, captain of the teal team, the 90s team. All right. Head ref and scoreboard operator look like they're walking him through it. See a lot of nodding heads. Oh, that may have been effective. Let's see. Teal team seemed to leave a little happier. All right, look, that worked. Good for them. A lot of times the challenge on the score does not pan out. I'm impressed. That's a rare one. 11 points for the 90s team. That I believe that means they will get to keep their challenge and use it again later. The way challenges work is if you have even one failed challenge, that's it. Never again. But it's a gift that keeps on giving if you are correct. A wonderful jammer race for between Cherry Noble and Voodoo Brawl. Cherry stealing lead jammer early, but then realizing that Voodoo, who's probably our fastest skater, was chasing her down and decided, yeah, not interested. I'm calling this thing off. Fun to watch, but no points scored. T-Rex jamming in orange for the 80s team versus Circuit Breaker jamming in teal for the 90s team. T-Rex sneaks by and gets away early. Lead jammer very quickly, very sneaky out there. Definitely an opportunity for that orange team right now. Oh, but that defense was ready for clearing her right to the floor. Oh, some nice offense. Came out too hot, but managed to score nonetheless. That looked like a sweep from the inside by my eyes. So the way a sweep works in roller derby, it's not that different from football if you happen to be a football fan. You basically take all your skaters, put them on the inside line, and then send them crashing into the other team, trying to sweep them to the outside. Or, if you want a better example, what you just watched in that play right there. It's very effective if you can pull it off, but a lot of times when you put all your skaters in one place, what happens is the other team is on to you, and all it takes is one skater kind of getting through that sweep to kind of keep that hole plugged to really ruin that jammer's plan. Definitely a risky strategy, but it sure paid off for him, Cotton, in that last jam. Liquor Posse, lead jammer for the teal team right now. 80's has a slight disadvantage here without that lead jammer out there. And meanwhile, Liquor Posse going unchallenged right now. An excellent one-on-one fight between Liquor Posse and Punisher. Two very strong skaters. Fun to watch that battle of rhinos out there. So right now, Liquor Posse with that lead jammer position, having already completed a scoring pass and going for it again. There you go. Huge jam for that 90s team in teal. They were down by quite a bit. That was a huge jam right there. You've probably pieced this together by now, but because both teams can score at any time, offense and defense are a little more nuanced in roller derby than a typical sport. Sorry, just letting the refs get all their penalties to the box. A lot of penalties out there. A lot of people did wrong in that one, and I think we need a little more time to get that sorted. Yeah. All right. We're going to take a little bit longer to figure out just how many people belong in that penalty box. I already see 2 from the teal team and 1 from the orange team, so it is going to be light out there no matter what. We'll see how this all goes in a moment. Discussing it with the eyes in the sky. All right, well, let's give it to them while they do that. A couple of penalties that you'll see out here. I don't know what exactly they're in the sin bin for. But a couple penalties that you'll see out here. One is cutting the track. So earlier when you saw Voodoo skate off the track to the inside and realize she needed to reset and come back in behind members of the other team, had she not reset like that, you would have seen a ref put an X up in the sky with their arms. Oh, we are back in. All right, good news. Neither team lost their jammer to a penalty. That's a very good thing in roller derby, but it is 9 points scored in the previous jam, a huge jam, including a bonus point, a grand slam for Liquor Posse in that previous jam. Huge jam for the 90s team. 80's are still up 25-20, but right now, Cherry Noble versus Voodoo Brawl. Voodoo Brawl in orange for the 80's team, taking lead jammer. So 80's team is up. Almost lost that lead to the 90s team. 80's team, meanwhile, has taken lead jammer, and has an opportunity to score right now. Oh, we got a jammer race. Voodoo Brawl trying to gun it through there and call it off as quickly as possible. All right, so remember, when that lead jammer gets through there and calls it off, they get whatever points they got for passing members of the other team, but now they're trying to get the ref's attention and call it off as quickly as possible, and there's no guarantee the ref is going to catch it right away. While you're waiting for that ref to call it off, which could be several seconds, that other jammer has a chance to steal points, and that is exactly what Han Solo went for right there. We'll see how it pans out on the scoreboard. We've got one penalty to assess right now. We may have another one coming. I see the refs are sorting it out. All right. They got away with it. So during that jam, unfortunately, for the first time in this game, a jammer committed a penalty. Usually you put a really clean skater out there as your point scorer. Yes, you want them fast, but more importantly, you want them clean because, unfortunately, with Voodoo Brawl in the box, the orange team cannot score right now. That 80's team, who's currently in the lead, cannot score. Only the 90's team in teal can score in this jam. It's a 90's Power Jam. In a Power Jam, things change dramatically in roller derby. Normally, both teams can score at any time. Both teams have to play offense. Both teams have to play defense. But during a Power Jam, that all changes. Circuit is skating unchallenged. There is no other jammer to worry about. Jam clock runs for 60 seconds, a full minute. Well, she can just keep on skating. She doesn't need to worry about another jammer coming up behind her and stealing some points during her jam. She can just go for it, and she is. Look at her skating lap after lap. Things get simpler for the teal team, too. They're playing all offense. Normally, offense is something you really just save for a perfect moment because most of the time you've got a jammer you have to fight. No jammer to fight for the teal team. Of course, the orange team had an advantage too, all defense. Now, you mostly play defense anyway in roller derby, but knowing you don't have any offense to play, any jammer to think about, it does change the game a little bit. You can focus on just shut down the jammer, shut down the jammer, shut down the jammer. In this case, what you saw that team do is run from the jammer. Because you score points, not like football where it's yardage, but skaters, if you just run away, you're essentially taking all of the ways to score points and running them away from the jammer. That was pretty effective, but the 90's team scored big in that last jam. It is now 30-27 with T-Rex, lead jammer versus Liquor Posse. All right, that is the first quarter. We're going to take a break. If you want to grab a drink, now is a great time, or if you need to use the bathroom. You got 5 minutes to do it. 5-minute quarter break. We're going to give these skaters a chance to strategize and rest for a moment. They look pretty fresh. They look like they don't need a break. Good for them. But they've got a moment to use the bathroom or whatever they might need to do during this 5-minute break. Oh, looks like one of them's filling up on water. That's very wise. Again, the bar is open. We got beer. We got hard seltzers over there and some hard lemonades. And soda as well, if you're not a big drinker. And we have baked goods over there on the merch table. I unfortunately did not hear about any available emergency food trucks, so we don't have that for you. I'm sorry. But we do have some baked goods there if you're super hungry. And since we don't have a food truck, you know, if you happen to bring in food, we wouldn't be upset. Halftime might be an okay time to grab something real quick there. Looks like from the scoreboard, that was a scoreless jam. Really fun to watch, but no points scored. Just two jammers battling it out, 30-27. A couple more penalties that you will see out there. We do not clothesline people in this version of roller derby. I'm sure you saw some pretty wild stuff on TV when you were younger. Back in the day, that was scripted roller derby. Those skaters may have looked like they were getting jump kicked and clotheslined, but they were protected by the sweet comfort of a script and the fact that they were constantly practicing fake hits. These are real hits. So we have to be a little bit safer with them. They're unplanned. No one's pretending to take a fall as they get jump kicked. So there's no jump kicks. There's no clotheslining. Instead, it is mostly body blocks. You can use your arm, but mostly just the area around the shoulder. You can use the meat of that upper arm, but once it gets into the elbow territory, too dangerous, can't be throwing elbows. Certainly no punches. You also can't trip skaters. So if someone were to punch somebody, that would be an arms call. You'll see an A on that whiteboard that Misty Meaner will be holding up. If they were to trip someone, that would be a low block. You'll see an LB. If they skate around skaters by going out of bounds, like I mentioned earlier, that's a cut track. You'll see an X on the board. If they skate center of mass and push the other skater, especially if they hit their spine, that is a back block. You'll see a B up there. And the main reason you're not allowed to hit directly dead center of mass is because skates like to fly when you hit dead center like that. You got to come at an angle so they have a chance to resist your momentum and do something with it. You also are not allowed to leap and hit anyone, so that jump kick would be double illegal. Can't hit people with your feet, and you can't leap into the air. And you cannot spear, so you cannot take your head and go through like a charging bull. That would be an above the shoulders block if you were to use your head. You'll see an AS on the board. All right, our quarter break is coming to an end, so if you're grabbing a beer or taking a break here, probably time to start finishing that up and head on back over here. While we do that, let me just mention again our upcoming bout schedule. I hope you're having a great time. We have more roller derby coming up for the rest of 2024. We'll be away at Swan City at Astro Skate of Brandon, 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m., September 8th. So if you want to see us in a travel bout, come out and see us there. Friday, October 4th, we'll have another bout just like this one right here at Largo Event Center. Since it's on a Friday, we will not have a vendor market like we had today, just an evening bout. Doors open at 6 p.m. Check out our website, sunshinerollerderby.com, for tickets. The earlier you buy, the cheaper they are. If you happen to be in California at the end of October, or mid-October, we will be in San Diego playing a doubleheader against two travel teams. It's going to be a rough one. Going to be hard work. San Diego, October 19th, if you happen to be out there. If not, we'll be back here in Florida Friday, November 15th for one more bout here at Largo Event Center. And our very last bout of the year, Sunshine Slaydown, December 7th, up at the Sunderman Complex. We're going to have a mashup bout with a whole bunch of skaters from all over Florida. If you want to see a really diverse skill set, see a lot of moves you haven't seen before, that'll be a great one to come out to. You'll see whatever people have been working on this year. I'm sure you'll see their trick moves come out during that mashup bout. And if you want to be one of our amazing skaters, you can join us Monday, September 9th, right here at Largo Event Center. Our practice is from 7 to 9 p.m. Monday, September 9th. You can also visit our join page. And as a reminder, you don't need to have any skating experience to join us. We will teach you from scratch, and you don't need to hit if you don't want to. If you're just unsure that you want to play roller derby, it looks like a little much, but you just want to learn to skate, we will teach you from scratch, no problem. Just come join us Monday, September 9th. All right, Big Ash versus Ginger Snaps. Fresh jammers out there from both teams. Very interesting. Both teams giving the other team a new look. Sometimes when you put a fresh jammer out there, you really throw off that other team because they cannot figure out, you know, do I need to deal with a big hitter right now, or what do I need to do? So by both teams putting a new jammer out there, they kind of threw a curveball at each other, especially at the beginning of the quarter. You know, you spend your time during that quarter strategizing, coming up with how you're going to deal with different skaters. and then you don't see the skaters back out on the track. That's pretty slick. Ginger Snaps takes lead jammer, pushing against that pack. If you're curious, so I mentioned that you pass members of the other team to score points. You get through, you get that initial pass that opens up the opportunity to score. Each member of the other team you pass. It is specifically the jammer's hips. The jammer's hips passing the other skater's hips. So you only score points when it's hips past hips. I don't know if Ginger Snap scored in that jam. I actually can't see the scoreboard, but certainly scored in this way. Drew a penalty. Oh, all right. Ginger Snaps took a point in that last jam, but more importantly, drew a penalty against the other team. Only Jerry Noble can score in this jam. It's a teal team Bout jam. Once again, a huge opportunity for that teal team, and they could use it. They were down by almost double the score at one point. Now they are just 2 points away from taking the lead, and they have a power jam. That means that only Cherry Noble can score. The other team does not have a jammer because they're stuck in that penalty box for a full 60 seconds, a full minute. A minute may not sound like very much, but roller derby is essentially a full fist fight on skates. It is an incredible amount of power, athleticism, aggression, and energy that you have to kind of just unload. So having to go a full minute is harder than it sounds. All right, just like that, that minute is over. Orange team doing an excellent job of holding that jammer. Nonetheless, I did see points go up off that ref's hands. That 90's team has been down most or all of this bout, and just like that, 90's take the lead with that power jam. We have a lead change. I believe that is the first time the 90's have been up in this game. Second quarter, look at that. First quarter was for the 80's. The 90's team certainly figured something out during that quarter break. Oh, but the 80's team is not going to let them sit on their laurels. Voodoo Brawl takes off. Lead jammer right away. Incredible speed, like a bullet gone out of there. Circuit breaker jamming in teal for the 90's. Again, the 90's are up 32-30. Voodoo Brawl comes in for that bread and butter play. The most basic play of roller derby is you get out, get that lead jammer position, sometimes using a little offense like a sweep to get that jammer out. You establish the lead jammer, you gun it fast as you can around the track, fly through that pack as fast as you can, score your 4 points and call it off immediately. You just watch that happen. Textbook play of roller derby. Most basic play you can run, and you can win with that. 4 points for one team, 0 for the other, because you called it off before that other jammer could get in. Even though they were able to get out, they put a lot of work and effort into running you down, and then they get nothing for it. It's a great way to tire out that other jammer. 34 now, 80's, 32, 90's. 80's take the lead once again and take lead jammer, Shameless. And again, if you're ever wondering who is lead jammer before I happen to mention it, look for that jam ref. They got a fun headband on. They're pointing at the sky. They're pointing at the jammer. That's how you know that's the lead jammer. If they're ever not pointing at all, there is no lead jammer. And there will only ever be one person pointing at the sky and pointing like that. It is always the jam ref for that jammer. Shameless and Ginger Snaps fighting hard against that pack. Most of the pack goes down. Most of the pack gets back up. Don't worry, they practice that. And if you're nervous watching that, don't worry, we teach you that first thing in roller derby. What you saw most of those skaters do is a knee down. A lot of times when people start skating, they'll start to fall forward. They've got a toe stop there. They're fine. They can start to go backwards. They go to dig their heel in, and they go straight back because those are not a heel anymore. They're wheels. So we teach you to not fall backwards like that. Great way to break a wrist. We teach you to go forward and down onto one knee. You basically just do a crunch, tuck your whole body forward, and go straight down onto one knee. Bring that weight down to the floor as quickly as you can so that you don't end up in a fall. The closer you are to the floor during a fall, the less damage you'll do. And that's what you saw most of those skaters do. They do it so naturally, it almost looked like nothing. No injuries out there. Everyone gets right back up, ready for the next jam. Voodoo Brawl takes off. Lead jammer. Again, the 80s team in orange has taken the lead once again. They were down by 2 points to the 90s team just for one jam as a result of a very well-played power jam. But they've already answered that by stealing that lead right back. $40 points now for the 80s team after they cut through with that bread and butter play of roller derby where you take that lead jam position, run it out, and call it off. Both teams, nice, clean jam that last jam. So no one is in the penalty box. It's going to mean a full pack. That is going to slow both jammers down. Anyone on the track is one more impediment for a jammer. Even if they're on your own team, it's easy to end up just having to work through a crowd. And just like that, both teams are doing an amazing job of defense with that full set of blockers out there. A hard fight out there for Circuit Breaker. Shameless has taken lead jammer and has an opportunity to score for the 80s team and gets away. Circuit Breaker, meanwhile, was run down by Dolly Death Star. There it is. So, I don't like to call penalties until the refs do, but yeah, there it is. Yeah. All right. So one of the penalties that happened, unfortunately, right in front of me. There's multiple styles of roller derby, and this style does not allow you to skate in non-derby direction. Basically, if we had skaters going in the opposite direction on the track, it would be way too easy to have two bulls collide, at high speed. So we don't allow you to do that. And unfortunately, Dolly Death Star did do that. We call it a stopping penalty, but it basically means you skated the wrong direction on the track. Liquor Posse versus Frankenfine. We got some real strong skaters out there right now jamming for the 80s and 90s teams. We had some huge hits by those jammers. I know you caught them. I could hear you howling. Nonetheless, I believe Liquor Posse took that lead jammer position, put some points on the board. We'll see what the scoreboard says. Again, I don't want to pre-announce it here. All right, so we had 3 skaters in the box last jam, none of them the jammer. So it was a plain old jam, but it was sure empty out there, and that gave both jammers an advantage. You saw them both get out, both established the ability to score very quickly. This jam is the opposite of that. There's only one skater in the box. But unfortunately for the orange team, the 80s team, they have their jammer in the box, meaning only the teal team, the 90s team, can score in this jam. It's a 90s power jam. This is kind of the story of the 90s team tonight. They'll be down a little bit. They'll grab that power jam, and they'll just start scoring points. Cherry Noble is out there for the 90s team, and so far getting just beat up by an excellent power defense. One of the things that you might notice if you're watching carefully, this is a power line. So because the 80s team knows that they've got to play the best defense of their lives, they put their strongest defensive skaters out there because they want to lock down that power jam, prevent any points at all. So far, Cherry has managed to get through and establish the ability to score, but has not necessarily passed any skaters. We'll see how many she passed. Again, it's hips past hips. Some excellent offense there from Codzilla. Blew open the middle, But unfortunately, it looks like Cherry didn't quite recognize the offense. It didn't gun it up the middle. May have also suspected that there was a door going to get closed there. Whew. I see 4 penalties on the whiteboard. Oh, wow. Okay. There's not going to be many people left on this track for this one. All right, unfortunately for both teams, lots of penalties there. 2 solid points scored by that 90s team. They have been down for much of the game, but it's still a very tight game, 45-39. But bad news for the 90s team, good news for the 80s team. Only Voodoo Brawl can score in this jam. It's back-to-back power jams. Cherry Noble did score in that last jam, but committed a penalty in the process. It looks like it was an arms call. You can't punch anybody. You can't elbow anybody. You can't even grab a member of the other team's jersey. Those are all arms calls, and unfortunately, that is what Cherry is dealing with here, sitting in that penalty box. Voodoo comes flying through, tries to use that momentum to gun it right through that pack, no problem, and ends up just sending a couple of skaters soaring, but does not get through the pack. Way to put it all on the line. Reminder, there were not many skaters left on the track, so to actually stop a jammer in that scenario, incredibly challenging. Oh, wow. We were so clean at the beginning of this game. Quarter 1 was real light on penalties. Quarter 2 is not going the same way. People are turning it up a notch, and it's getting a little crazy. Voodoo goes to the box. Voodoo had that star on her helmet. You know what that means. Only Ginger Snaps can score in this jam. It's a teal team power jam. The 80s once again have this power jam opportunity to close up this score. It is currently 50-39. They've got an 11-point difference. 11 points is possible in a power jam, but you've got to get out pretty quickly. And so far, Ginger Snaps has not quite been able to do that. Oh, we've all seen it by now, so I'll say it. We have a pass to Venom, and that allows the teal team to get out. Only Venom can score now in this jam. Reminder, once a pass happened, it's a fun trick play, but you can't do it again. And so since it was a successful pass, there will be no more passing for the rest of this jam. But Venom has that full 60 seconds, or whatever's left of it, to score. Every member of the other team she passes right now, that's going to be a point for the 80s team in teal. Oh, everyone goes down, everyone gets back up. Definitely some points scored there. Oh, another interesting moment there. So Ginger Snap started off as the jammer, ended up committing a penalty, but had already passed. So Ginger Snaps is sitting as a blocker. That means we've ended the cycle of violence. We've ended the cycle of back-to-back power jams. 5 points scored in that power jam for the 90s team, making it 50, 80s, 44, 90s. Not quite enough to steal the lead, but definitely enough to close up that gap and keep both teams very competitive. Excellent defense by both teams. As a reminder, we have just that one skater in the box, so definitely a tougher situation for jammers than we've seen for several jams back-to-back. They might have gotten a little used to skating through with very little resistance. You've seen it by now. Punisher has taken the pass and taken lead jammer for the 80s team, calling out the offensive play to her team, asking them to set up a play for her, using a bean dip to duck under a block earlier. Well, I don't know what that offensive play was, but I think it worked. All right, believe it or not, it is halftime. I hope you're having a great time. I know I am. That flew by, huh? That is your first half hour of roller derby. It's already over. That was 2 15-minute quarters, and just like that, we are in halftime. We're going to take 15 minutes of break time here. If you need to use the bathroom, grab a beer, or what have you, now is the time to do it. And I will catch you right back here, 15 minutes. Check, check. We have a fan that couldn't really hear very well. I'm sorry that maybe we use a different sound setup every time, and I feel like we have some wins and losses every time. I can definitely hear an echo. Check, check. How's that? Is that any better? Take some of the bass out of my voice. Well, so one of the things that you saw out here a bunch of times is a power jam. So normally there's a skater with a star in their helmet from each team. Both teams can score at any time. So, it's not like soccer where there's only one ball, so only one team can score at a given moment, or football where there's only one quarterback or running back. Both teams can score. Their jammers can get through, score points right away. So normally you have to play offense and defense at the same time, which really changes the strategy. You score by passing members of the other team. So first, you get through that initial pass through the pack. That sets up the ability to score. Not making any sense? One of the other penalties that we had out there was a directional. I explained that briefly at the beginning, but we did have a little more there. So in this version of roller derby, you can't skate in opposite derby direction. You probably noticed that everyone's skating counterclockwise all the time. You cannot skate clockwise. Why? Because if you had skaters flying at each other, clockwise and counterclockwise, that's a lot of speed. I mean, you could easily have 20 miles an hour in each direction, a total collision at 40 miles an hour, definitely enough to break a neck. So, you're not allowed to do that at all. The first penalty we had was just someone skating in that direction, which is illegal. We'll give you a penalty for that. Second time it happened was a directional. A directional block is when you not only skated in non-derby direction, you made contact. Depending on how hard you hit someone doing that, you can get thrown out of the game. Because of that problem where everyone's skating in one direction, they could be skating at high speed, especially those jammers. You send someone in the opposite direction and they just go for it, you can be seriously injured. So those are two big penalties you saw during that first half. I hope you are excited for that second half of Sunshine City Roller Derby. We'll catch you back here in just a few minutes. We had a great question from our president here. Where is the program? It's on our website, sunshinerollerderby.com/program. Check, check. Check, check. Check. Check, check. Check, check. Wonder if that'll be better. Get some more mid-range back. I think someone took the bass and turned it to a billion. But again, if you want to see the digital program for this bout, sunshinerollerderby.com/program. Again, our website, sunshinerollerderby.com. Or just look up Sunshine City Roller Derby on Google and find us if typing that long domain name isn't your thing. And then you put /program at the end of that address, and there is the digital program. You'll get all of our awesome skaters with their cool headshots, including Violet Venom, who comes out hard with an excellent shoulder punch against Punisher. Lead jammer for that 90s team in teal. 90s team is down 58-44. Violet Venom rallying the crowd. A huge hit. Violet Venom hit so hard that the entire team goes down and puts their arms out like, I don't know. I think we had some confusion at the end of that jam. I'm not sure, but I think Venom may have passed the other jammer. If she had, then it would be a grand slam and a bonus point. If she hadn't, then she can have lead jammer stolen from her, and I think that's what we're going to. It's a fairly safe guess that that's what we're about to discuss here in the middle. So just once again to explain that rule nuance. So the two jammers start in the back of the pack, behind everyone. They're the skaters with the stars on their helmet. They are trying to get out of the pack and race around. Let's say, hypothetically, that Violet Venom got all the way around and passed the other jammer. Then that other jammer passed her. Nothing of interest would happen other than Venom getting a bonus point for passing that jammer. However, if Venom had not gotten all the way around and that other jammer passed her, then that other jammer has not been lapped yet and can steal lead jammer. If that were to occur, if that other jammer were to steal lead jammer, then Venom might make the mistake of doing that hip dance where you take your hands down to your hips and up to your head over and over again, trying to call it off. And if you do that, and a ref notices when you are not allowed to, you can end up in the penalty box because you're trying to trick the refs into thinking that you are still lead jammer. And part of the reason it's a penalty is because sometimes that trick works. So it's to discourage you from tricking the refs. Entire roller derby games have been lost or won on just that trick play alone. So refs look down on it. But also people can just get confused as to whether they lapped that other jammer or not and just go for it. So, you know, honest mistake. For now, there are 2 skaters in the box. One for the orange team, who seems to be having a pretty good time. Goldie got her. And one for the teal team, the jammer. We'll see if those penalties hold. A lot can happen during a challenge. You can potentially release everyone from the box. You could potentially put a whole bunch of new people in the box. The refs have heard both sides of the challenge, and now they're discussing it amongst themselves. Wow, this must be a tough one there. More nuanced than I would have guessed. All right, well, while they get that sorted, I just want to remind you, if you are enjoying this, and I hope that you are, I can hear you hooting and hollering when we have these jams going, we have more bouts. We hope you come and see us again. Right here at Largo Event Center, we have 2 more bouts for the rest of the year. One Friday, October 4th. The other one Friday, November 15th. We're going back to Fridays for the end of the year as things start to fill up here at Largo Event Center. Doors at 6, first whistle at 7, just like tonight. So thank you so much for joining us tonight, and we will do our best to make sure we actually have a food truck at the next one. I'm sorry for messing that up tonight. Friday, October 4th, and Friday, November 15th are our last bouts here at Largo Event Center. If you want to see us in a little more varied games, we'll have an away bout versus Swan City at their home territory, 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. morning bout, September 8th. That is at Astroskate of Brandon. And we will have roller derby world style up at Sunshine Slaydown December 7th at the Sunderman Complex. Come check us out. All right. After that challenge, the same skaters are in that box. It is still 58-50. 90's team much closer to stealing that lead once again. But for now, only T-Rex can score in this jam. It's an 80's Bout jam. Major opportunity to score for the 80's team. They're already up 8 points. Sounds pretty good. But 8 points has been hard fought in this game. Don't forget, we went a whole half, and people only scored about 50 points. A little bit less than that. So, 8 points may not be enough to hang on to that lead. Question is, can T-Rex open up that lead a little bit more, give them a little more safety room? Right now, what that 80's team in orange is trying to do, and they're doing a great job of it, is destroy the other team. You want chaos. A good jammer can slalom real well. So if you can just make a mess, yes, there's skaters everywhere, but they're not organized. They're not able to hold a nice, strong defense together. Your average jammer can find their S-curve through there and get out. So that orange team was doing their best to make a mess. Teal team was doing their best to do the exact opposite. Keep it very controlled, very organized, very strong. Only 1 penalty in that whole jam. That was some hard hits and a lot of chaos for very few penalties. Very impressive, guys. 5 huge points scored in that power jam. Definitely good news for that 80's team, who continues to be up, but also great news for the 90's team. Power jams can easily be a 20-point affair, and Ginger Snaps takes the lead jammer. Opportunity to score for that 90s team. They are down by just a little bit. Ginger Snaps has a chance to change that right now. She's up against Shameless. Ginger Snaps starts to get some resistance from that defense, takes what points she can and calls it off. If you're wondering about some of the confusion about calling it off, one of the other things that is different about this style of roller derby from the kind that a lot of these skaters may be used to is you can't call it off from out of bounds or while you're down. There's another style of roller derby where you can pretty much just call it off anytime. In this version, you must be upright and in bounds, and that can be harder to do if you're not used to that. Shameless taking a penalty in that last jam, meaning only Liquor Posse can score in this jam. It is once again a Teal Team Power Jam. Not only did Teal score in that last jam, they drew a power jam. This is an awesome moment for that 80s team. It has to feel good for that 90s team to get out there, score points, and grab hold of a power jam. This is a major opportunity. They got those points. They're about to get some more. Liquor Posse has already gotten out of that initial pass, so the question of whether this is going to be a 0-point jam is pretty much off the table. It's really just a question of how many points Liquor is going to score. Great defense, though, by Chewbacca and Dolly Death Star. That defensive formation you saw there is a very formidable one called a truck and trailer, and you saw it work there. You've already seen that Liquor's a really hard hitter, really great skater out there, so you put a truck and trailer out there against a skater like that. And basically what happens is the front skater, the truck, is providing stability. The rear skater is providing mobility. They have that ability to swing that trailer hard left, hard right, just whiplashing back and forth, and that can make it very difficult for that jammer to get through, and it was effective. They didn't stop Liquor from scoring points. Huge points scored in that jam, but they did slow her down. And in a power jam, a lot of times that's the best you can do is just reduce that bleed. Voodoo Brawl takes off. Lead jammer. She's up against Violet Venom, who started off with some great jammer hits, but Voodoo Brawl basically just ran away from those hits. That is a very effective strategy when it's jammer on jammer like that. Although when it's blocker on blocker, you're kind of stuck with each other because you're all going to have to be playing in that same space. A jammer a lot of times has a lot of advantage to just run away. Run in derby direction as fast as you can. Not only are you going to get out of those hits, you're going to leave that other skater behind, and you're going to be the first one to the pack with the opportunity to score points. Voodoo did just that, and it paid off. We're going to take a moment to review that last jam. Refs trying to sort out, I believe, whether or not there was... All right, they're sorting the score. All right, so once again, while they do that, we are going to have an after party right here at Largo Event Center when this game is over. We hope you join us for that. The bar will remain open. You can come and buy these skaters a drink. That's right. These amazing heroes on the track, they look powerful, they look scary. They're not that scary. I mean, they're a little scary. I'm going to be honest with you. I've spoken to them. They're pretty scary. But nonetheless, you can buy them a drink, get to know them. There's some amazing human beings out here. Get a chance to meet the skaters. They're going to be right here, right in front of you at the end of this game, after party. Give them a moment to get cleaned up and geared down, and they'll be coming right back out after this bout is over right here at Largo Event Center. Oh, we got some nice fighting on the track before the jam even starts. If you're curious, that is legal. They are allowed to apply pressure to each other before the jam starts. They can't lay anybody out, but they can jockey for position, and you saw Punisher and Cherry Noble trying to decide who gets to be at the front of that box. Why, you ask? Well, I would guess that they were both trying to run a play that requires being at the front of that box. What would require being at the front of a box? There are plays that require you to cap. Capping is when you basically put a nice, warm, loving hug around the other team that kind of starts from the side and wraps around to the front. And the goal is that as the jammer goes by, they not only can get by to that side, but they also, as they skate by, no one can suddenly run out of it and go catch them up front. So that cap, that wrap around to the front, foresees those blockers chasing that jammer and trying to get that last block in and prevents them from doing it. Shameless versus Sherry Noble. Shameless comes into that pack as that jam comes to an end. We'll see if any points go up on that board. One penalty had, looks like a low block. That means tripping during that jam. Just to explain low blocks, by the way, falling in roller derby, totally normal. It's the first thing we teach you how to do. We teach you how to do it safely. But in this sport, you can't just go tripping people. If you fall nice and small, we give it to you. It's a free pass. It's like it never happened. People fall over you, that's on them because you fell small. You prevented a small obstacle. They should be able to navigate that. But if you sprawl out all over the place and people trip over your limbs, that's on you. Give you a low block for that. Liquor Posse takes a lead jammer. Teal team is down by just a little bit, but they have lead jammer right now. Liquor Posse has scored several points for this 90s team already. Let's see if she can do it again. Nice jammer race. I'm 99.9% certain she saw it, but I didn't want to announce it just in case. But Big Ash was chasing her down almost immediately. Those jammer races are really fun to watch, but I try not to announce them in real time because I don't want to give up the position of that other skater. Just giving up that position and taking away that need to look behind you and see, are they about to get me? That can give a skater an advantage that I don't want to be responsible for. 67 for the 80s team, 59 for the 90s team. Very tight game, just an 8-point difference. Voodoo Brawl takes off. Lead jammer. Nobody is in that penalty box. Violet Venom is jamming for the 90s team, trying to put the pressure on Voodoo. Right now, what Violet Venom is trying to do is be a fifth blocker. So what happens is you'll get stuck in a situation where you just cannot get through that defense, and so you just start playing defense yourself as the jammer. And sometimes what will happen is they'll start forgetting that you're the jammer and just be like, oh, that's just an innocent blocker. I don't need to worry about them. And then suddenly they open up the door and you're gone. However, boy, that has not worked so far. Violet Venom is up against some amazing defense right now. Frankenfine and Punisher are both out there. That is a hard team to be up against in the first place. And man, they made that tough on that team. However, I saw a lot of skaters get cleared straight to the floor in exchange for it, so they certainly fought for it. As hard as that jam was, I think only 4 points were scored. We'll see. Wow. A hard-fought jam, 9 points scored by the 80s team. Huge jam for the 80s team. What a hard fight by both teams. Just one penalty committed in that jam. Look at you guys, how clean. So the 80s team in that 60-second jam able to put 9 points on the board. Those 9 points are you pass those members of the other team. Oh, 14. Wow. 14 points scored in that jam. We had to fix the scoreboard after the head ref approached the scoreboard there. 14, that's our biggest jam of the night by far, and one of the bigger jams you'll see in roller derby. So just like that, the 80s team is way up. Tough jam for the 90s team in that jam. That was some strong defense. That was a lot of chaos out there, but man, the scoreboard doesn't always show it. It did this time. Shameless just barely after a hard fight takes lead jammer. She's up against Ginger Snaps. Shameless in orange for that 80s team that is up right now. Ginger Snaps in teal for that 90s team. More huge hits back there. Shameless tries to score. Remember, you score by your hips passing the hips of other blockers. Blockers on the other team. So if a blocker can hit you hard enough to kind of knock you down as you try and pass them, can't quite get those hips past their hips, no points scored. Three points scored in that gym for the 80s team. That's good news for the 80s. Bad news for the 80s. They have two skaters in the box, and I don't see any coming out for teal. Just like that. Only the 90s team can score in this jam. It's a 90s power jam. This is the moment the 90s team needed. They were 84-59, but Liquor Posse has an opportunity to score lap after lap after lap in this power jam. Goes one-on-one with Punisher, who has delivered crushing blow after crushing blow, and she did, but Liquor Posse was able to muscle her way through and to get that lead jammer position, which means the opportunity to score has begun here. The orange team is trying to play two very smart strategies. Although they're playing some really hard roller derby, they are playing smart as well. They're trying to stay in front. And the reason they're trying to stay in front like that is they are trying to control the speed of the pack. If they can really move quickly and kind of keep that pack moving fast, they have an opportunity to just run it out. If you force a big, strong jammer like Liquor Posse to just run, you can tire out that jammer. And a tired jammer is a jammer that can't score. And just exhaust that jammer with a race. In this case, they were successful. Now, it's not as simple as just running away. If running away were a strategy in roller derby, it wouldn't be a very interesting sport. There are several rules that limit your ability to just run away from the jammer and prevent it from just being like a game of keep away. And so they had to balance those rules. In particular, there are rules of the pack. All roller derby must be played within 45 feet. There's the center of the pack. That's the center of the action. There's 20 feet in either direction of that 5-foot center. All of the action has to happen there. You get outside of that 45-foot zone, you're not allowed to hit anymore. And so they were trying to keep all of their play in that short field of play. Whew! Dang, all right. It was 84-64. T-Rex has come out like lightning here and taken the lead jammer. Both teams are throwing hits. I mean, we are flying off this track, getting up and flying off again. All right, everyone's calmed down just a little bit here. Violet Venom looking to score for that 90s team in teal. Oh, we got a split pack there. Woo! That was the third quarter, guys. Wow. All right, we're going to take off our final quarter break. Those final couple jams were pretty serious. I hope everyone's all right. We do teach everyone how to skate controlled. What? Yeah, we got our final 5-minute break. If you need a break, we got your final 5 minutes right now. I can't come to you, but if you have questions, feel free to approach me and ask questions. I'm happy to answer them. I'm over here at this little silly announcer's table we set up over here with all of our sound equipment and laptops. We do teach everyone how to fall small, how to fall safely, how to take things safely. So things got a little wild out there. Careful, that rolls. Yeah, I've had several people let me know that you guys can't hear me. I'm sorry. We get a different roll of the dice on the speakers every time somehow. That's why and Candy are getting it out there for a little. A little sweet. Oh, Smack and Decker joining him now. Look at that. Oh, little bit of jam skating. People are tripping over the tape here and there. There's little pieces of tape to mark off the 5-foot markers, which help the refs tell when people are out of play. After they get beaten up in 3/4 like this, they start to lift up a little bit, and they can present more of a challenge than they look. Oh, we got a little Punisher action out there now. Oh, we're getting a little ginger snaps now. Okay. I see you, girl. It's all love in roller derby, people. They love to dance it out. You'll see hugs on the line between jammers and blockers. You'll see compliments. Hey, great hit. I really felt that in my bones out there afterwards. It's all love. It's not like some of these other sports where people want to see people injured. They all know they have jobs to go to on Tuesday. So it's just dancing it out, having a good time for the final 5-minute break of this Sunshine City Roller Derby 80s versus 90s bout. All right, that was your final quarter break. We are in. Buckle up for the final 15 minutes of Sunshine City Roller Derby. That final quarter, final few jams in that third quarter were intense. I hope everyone plays safe out there. I think we're going to see a little bit of wild behavior. I hope everyone keeps it kind of light out there. Barbie Vet and Dolly Death Star, captains of these two teams, are in a jammer race, a captain's race. Interesting way to interesting way to start this quarter. Put both your captains out there. Both those skaters are certainly jammers in general. We haven't seen them jam much in this bout. So definitely giving a different look to the other team. Definitely a good way. A lot of times during a break like that, you'll have a team basically come up with a strategy. Oh, no. It looks like we have a miscellaneous skate part. You never want a random part just lying around. Did anybody need this? Seems like you were using it to skate in a full contact bout a moment ago. Oh, we've got a challenge.
The orange team is challenging the penalty to Frankenfine for failure to reform.
All right, we have a challenge against the most complicated penalty in roller derby, but I will explain it to you anyway. I promise you, this will be complicated. In roller derby, it would be super boring if it was a game of keep away. Since you score points by passing members of the other team, there's a very obvious strategy. Leave. Just skate away. So, to prevent that very boring non-game, we have something called the pack. The pack is the 5 feet where the center of the action is happening. Reasonably easy for you to identify just with your eyes. Where is everyone hitting each other? That's it. That 5 feet, that's the center, the pack. Then there's 20 feet on either end. That's called the engagement zone. In that 45-foot zone, all hitting must occur. Otherwise, it would be boring where people just leave. Okay, so you can't run away because of those rules. If you run away anyway, and your whole team decides to go with you, then you will hear the refs yell, split pack, and they're going to put their arms up in the air, kind of like a WTF or like a touchdown in football. And when they do that, you've only got 2 seconds to get yourself right. If you don't, they're going to start handing out penalties called failure to reform. That is the penalty they are discussing right now. I'm sorry it's so complicated, but I promise you it's worth it because it prevents that really boring game where everyone just leaves. Oh, well, just like that, that penalty has been issued. Frankenfine 369 is sitting for the orange team, meaning the orange team is down not only a blocker but a Frankenfine-sized blocker. This may give an advantage to that 90s teal team. We'll see. 89 to 64, 80s team is up for now. Liquor Posse looking to change that. But of course, that 80s team also has a jammer out there, Shameless. Liquor Posse takes the lead jammer, opening up the opportunity to score for that 90s team. This is exactly the jam the 90s team needs. They have that one blocker missing from the other team. That could give Liquor Posse a continuing advantage, not only taking that lead jammer position and coming around for that scoring pass, but an opportunity to score a little bit more quickly here. Calls it off, seeing Shameless come in. Shameless playing defense with offense there. That's one of the fun things about roller derby because both teams can score at any time. Sometimes offense is your defense. Shameless, by getting out and threatening to score, persuaded Liquor Posse to call it off early, and that limited how many points Liquor could score. Even though there were only 3 blockers out there, that 4th point was still available. You got a free point, the penalty point, from that first blocker you passed. So when she passed that first blocker, she got 2 points because that one skater, Frankenfine, in the box. T-Rex takes the lead jammer. Actually, it's not quite taken there. It's now taken lead jammer after going one-on-one with Han Solo out there and takes off up against Violet Venom. Currently 89 to 68. Definitely a strong jam, that last jam, for the 90s team. But the 80s team continue to maintain a 21-point lead. T-Rex persuading the jam team, the jam ref team, that she really can call it off. First some no's from the heads, and then, oh yeah, you can call it off. Fun jammer race to watch. Oh, all right. T-Rex really made the most of that jam. Never mind. I thought we were going to have just a fun race and that's it. But that was a bread and butter play, a roller derby right there, taking 4 points and calling it off. Perfectly executed, very disciplined roller derby. Once again, that is how you win games, and that is how the 80's team has been winning this game, 93-68. There is very little time left in this game. It is still possible for that 90's team to win, but they've got to start doing everything right now. And right now, Shameless has taken a lead jammer, which is going to make it that much tougher. That 80's team has both control of the play clock and the opportunity to score. Fighting against some excellent defense by Flinger, Ginger Snaps, and Circuit Breaker. Another penalty against Frankenfine, 369, but this time she's going to be sitting with her friend Smack and Decker. Penalty love there in the middle. Teal takes a penalty as well. All right. No jammers are in that penalty box, but most of the rest of the teams are. And that is going to clear out this track. You've only got 2 blockers left on the track for Orange and 3 for Teal. This is going to be a very jammer advantage jam. Barbie Fett versus Chewbacca. We have not seen these jammers go up against each other before, so it's going to be interesting as it is. But with almost no one left on the track, to be honest, you would expect very little resistance for these jammers, but those blockers out there are crushing it right now. They have absolutely locked up these jammers. Incredible defense by almost no one left. Wow. The first 30 seconds of this 60-second jam were just spent fighting those few blockers that remained on the track. That was amazing defense you just watched by who was left. All right, both teams setting up the block now. So when you saw those skaters looking at each other like, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? They're setting up for offense, and the other team knows it. In this case, I don't know if it's what they wanted, but the orange team went for a cross block, and it just barely worked. A cross block works better when there's almost no one on the track like that, and you basically just take everyone who's on one side and send them to the other. Wherever they are, send them the other way. And so you can basically just almost like opening a window, just wide open the middle, sliding doors. Your jammer sails through. They managed to do it. Highland Flinger versus Voodoo Brawl. Cherry Noble takes a lead jammer for the Teal team. We haven't had a ton of those, but that's a jammer race. They're really fun to watch. One of my favorite things in roller derby, but very rarely are there points scored. Basically, that lead jammer realizes they are playing a dangerous game and they decide to call it off. Ginger Snaps versus Shameless. Excellent defense by both teams. No one in the penalty box. Very clean, guys. Very demure. Shameless pushing on that front wall. As a reminder, I told you that all roller derby has to be played within 45 feet. When Shameless was up there at the front pushing, the reason she's pushing is she knows she's up against the front of that 45 feet. If she can just push those people out of that 45 feet, they can't block anymore. Shameless gets a nice sweep from the inside to the outside. Chewbacca and Frankenfine locking up that inside. nudging all those skaters a little bit to the outside, and that allowed Shameless to sail through to the inside. That time, Barbie Fett looking to close the door on Shameless. Can't quite do it. Shameless being very sneaky there. That's a very common situation. What you'll end up with is you'll have a jammer learn to kind of sneak to the inside. The blocker gets past enough time, so they're like, I'm not dealing with that anymore. I'm going to lock it down even better. For a while, that strategy will work. Then that jammer will get even sneakier and find their way to sneak by. And that cat and mouse game seems to be in the situation where that cat is winning right now. Nice, clean jam, that last jam. Hard fought. Liquor Bossy takes lead jammer. What an incredible amount of chaos there to start that jam. I don't want to announce it right away, but I think you all saw just how intense the start of that jam was. Liquor Posse has lead. Jammer has the opportunity to score right now. That was kind of funny. Someone on the orange team saw that Liquor was about to call it off, so they knocked her out of bounds. That's a pretty... I don't know if I've actually seen that intentionally done before, because if you can just knock her out of bounds, you can't call it off, and that allows your team to score. That's pretty slick. That is some quick thinking. I mean, you need split-second timing in order for that strategy to work. So these skaters are on their game tonight. You picked a fun one to watch. It's 80s versus 90s matchup, and man, it's been really just a fantastic match the whole time. I know that the 80s team is they're up, and they've been semi-consistently up, but this has definitely been a great matchup. Refs are reviewing that jam. So yeah, just to explain a little bit of what happened in that jam, I'm sure you all saw it, but I just want you to understand it. The jammer can pass, we know that. They can only pass to the designated receiver, the pivot, that's the skater with the stripe on their helmet. One of the things that can happen when you do that is you can drop the star. If you drop the star, you're in a tough spot. The skater that was the jammer is now not the jammer, but now no one is. And the skater was the jammer is the only one who can pick it up. You had better have dropped it forward, because if it's behind you, you can't go back and get it. In this case, they got lucky, and that star flew forward. They were able to pick it up, and they were able to recover. 106 for the 80s team puts the 80s team in the triple-digit territory for the first time in this game. Just 5 minutes left in the entire game. Shameless versus Cherry Noble. Shameless does have lead jammer. Some excellent blocking by Codzilla there. Shameless kind of came in skate first. That is very hard to deal with as a blocker. Skates really want to go. They really want to just leave. If you kick them straight forward, they will oblige. And that's part of why we don't let you do that. Back blocks prevent you from doing that with people's bodies, and low blocks prevent you doing that with skates. In this case, it was a low block. But Godzilla was able to still kind of keep her skates underneath her. Very impressive. Shameless sitting in the box. Only the 90s team can score in this jam. It's a 90s power jam. Ginger Snaps jamming for that 90s team has an opportunity to score lap after lap after lap. But, of course, the 80s team has seen this look many times, and they have no one in the box but their jammer. They are able to put out a full power line. That power line is no joke right now. Oh, but they have a goat. They have a goat. Meh. All right, the goat has fought their way out. While Chewbacca was held back there and was having to fight for her life, the reason that was such a desperate situation for Chewbacca is she was being goated. Goating means you grab a hold of exactly one blocker and hold them back. Why? Because of those pack rules I talked about earlier. The 5 feet of action. If you have just one member of the other team and your whole team is with you there, that's 5 out of 8 skaters. You are the pack. Then you can gradually let those other skaters get pushed on by your jammer until they get pushed 20 feet out of play. And just like that, none of them are allowed to hit. And that is the power of the goat strategy. But to do it, you need to really grab that goat. You need to lock them down for a long time. Chewie wasn't having it and fought for her life and managed to just barely get out moments before that goat strategy paid off. Ultimately, that limited the score of that 90s team. 80s team continues to hang on to the lead with Voodoo Brawl out there, a lead jammer for the orange team. She's up against the Liquor Posse. Woo! A mess out there. Skaters trying to kind of all knock each other to the outside, ended up kind of all going down, all getting back up. What an intense jam. So Voodoo Brawl was able to put that scoring pass together. Liquor Posse had to fight against some amazing defense out there, but was ultimately able to get through after several very hard hits. And so that put pressure on Voodoo to call it off. In addition to that, really strong defense had really stopped Voodoo's momentum. And so Voodoo looked around and said, there's no point in keeping this thing going, and called it off. So once again, getting your jammer out, even if you're not scoring points, even if you have no hope of scoring points, the threat of scoring points can stop the bleed. And that's what happened in that jam. Circuit Breaker steals lead jammer because of some amazing one-on-one defense by Bambi's Revenge. Shameless sure looked like she was going to take lead jammer. Bambi's Revenge put it all on the line, turning around on Shameless, bringing her to a full stop and allowing Circuit Breaker to race out there and steal lead jammer. Just to clarify what Bambi was doing there that was so risky, when you turn around on a skater like that, you have an advantage and a disadvantage. The advantage is you can use your toe stops, that nice big pad on the front of your skate, to bring them to a stop. That thing's meant for stopping. You're taking their force and driving it straight into that stopping pad. It's rough. But there are rules in roller derby that make that a little less awesome. When someone turns around on you like that, a lot of the rules about hitting and what's legal go away. You can blow that skater up. They're at very high risk when they turn around on you like that. And that was the risk that Bambi was taking, the risk that Shameless could have destroyed her. She put that risk out there, and it worked. Oh, wow, we've got hats flying around. Oh, but nothing from this jam. Okay, just a mess there. Jerry Noble, after a hard fight, takes lead jammer. You can tell because Mike Check is pointing to the sky and pointing at her. Jerry Noble for the 90s team has an opportunity to score and controls the play clock right now. Every member of the orange team that she passes will be 1 point. It's got to be hips past hips. All right, that may have been the final jam of the game, but I want to clarify, because penalties are served in the consecutive jam, this may not be over. You can't win with a penalty. There it is. That's why I was explaining this complicated rule. We have a penalty jam. Oh, Carnage Asada. Carter Jasada takes a penalty and prevents her team from winning. So Carter Jasada is sitting out that penalty, and this is why you can't win with a penalty. It would basically encourage you to just go wild and just hurt other people for that final jam. Who cares? We're not going to see that penalty anyway. So you must skate clean to win. Voodoo Brawl playing it very smart there, getting out as clean as she can and then calling it off immediately. Game clock's already gone, so the sooner she ends it, the less chance there is of anyone committing a penalty. Plus, her only skater that was committing penalties was in there in the penalty box. All right, that is in fact the final score. 113 80s, 84 90s. 90s team taking the lead several times, but not quite able to hang on to it. And of course, as you know, a couple of huge jams that I don't even think were power jams. It was really more just really strong defense. It's all love and roller derby. Both teams taking a victory lap here. We do this for fun, people. Winning's fun, but you know what's more fun? Skating roller derby. Hugging it out after. We're going to take a moment to announce MVP blocker, MVP jammer. If the teams can approach over here so I don't have to come up, I would like that. And then we are going to do the after party. If you want to meet these skaters, you have a chance to do that right now. We're going to take a moment to get them cleaned up a moment. They're going to head into the locker room in a moment, and then they'll come right back out. One kind of funny thing we do here is members of the opposing teams choose the most valuable skaters, the ones that were toughest to skate against for the other team. Let's announce those most valuable skaters now. Oh, I'm going to wait for that photo first. Actually, I don't want to. All right, let's do most valuable skaters on the 90s team, the teal team. Most valuable blocker, Barbie Fett. And most valuable jammer, Liquor Posse. We're going to take a couple more photos here. Sorry about that. Then I'll come back to the MVPs. Oh my God. We have one of those like retro Polaroids out there. Oh my God. Again, that final score was 113 to 84. All right, once again, for the teal team, most valuable blocker, Barbie Fett. And most valuable jammer, Liquor Posse. For the orange team, as chosen by members of the other team, most valuable blocker, T-Rex. And most valuable jammer for the winning team, Shameless. Those are your MVPs. And again, that is by a popular vote by the other team. Kind of an adorable thing we do here in roller derby. They're going to take a moment to pose with their amazing awards here, which are handmade and handcrafted by the team. Each about absolutely adorable. All right, that is it for the fanfare. Next up is the after party. If you want to meet these skaters, you have an opportunity to do it in just a moment. They do need a moment to get cleaned up usually, but then they are going to come right back out here. Buy them a drink. Won't you? That bar's open. Grab a beverage. Get to know your skaters. And we will hopefully see you again here at Sunshine City Roller Derby. Our next bouts are Friday, October 4th and Friday, November 15th right here at Largo Event Center. And, of course, we have recruitment night if you want to learn to skate on Monday, September 9th. See you then. I was Tally. Thank you, guys.